Welcome back to the Sovereign Society podcast. Let me just say I'm beyond thrilled and grateful to be here with you. A lot has shifted since the last time I was on the podcast, which was why the episode was off a week as I was in the hospital doing a 3-day EEG brain scan right when the eclipse hit. Wow, it was probably the most profound spiritual experience I've ever had in my entire life. And I've sat in ceremony with ayahuasca twice, peyote, I've done LSD twice, I've worked with psilocybin, microdosing multiple times, MDMA. And that experience where they had me, a seizure was induced right when the massive eclipse hit. It was the most profound healing experience of my life, but I'm here now. It took me a week to integrate, and I'm excited to be having this conversation and sharing with you this journey because I want to talk about reclaiming your power after a difficult mental health journey. And before I go any further, I just want to make the clear disclaimer that I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor. So if you're someone who needs help or support, please go and seek medical help and get advice, check in with the medical professional and get answers that way. I'm just clearly sharing from my experience as someone who has navigated with depression since she was 3 years old, and the, again, experience that I had in the hospital on 2 Mondays ago was profound in a way that I was able to heal from deep sexual trauma that I experienced 21 years ago, more than 21 years ago. It was literally the answer to my prayers. But I just want to share what I've learned along the way, navigating through mental health challenges her entire life, and just some simple things that can really help you nourish and grow and reclaim your power back. So to dive into this conversation, I just want to say that something that I'm very passionate about and that I'm excited to be sharing more about is mindset and overall sovereign embodiment. I want to help you reclaim your power. I want to help you shift your mindset. I want you to focus your awareness, your beliefs, and how you speak and how you treat yourself and how you perceive the world. This is something that I struggled with my entire life. And as I'm anchoring in this new perspective and this new awareness and this new sense of self and true sovereign embodiment, I'm here to be sharing with you information and tips like this episode so that you can grow. Because when you're in this space of true sovereign embodiment and alignment, that's the true hustle, right? Alignment is the true hustle. The success and the opportunities and the desires that you've been calling in will be coming in effortlessly because you're an energetic match and in alignment with that blessed up version of you. So before I go further, let's just start there. The key about reclaiming your power after a difficult mental health journey is recognizing, and getting honest with yourself about how often you check out, how often you beat yourself up, and how often you bypass what's really going on. Because if something from your past is the focus of your attention all the time and you're stuck in that space and you're unable to find yourself present in this now moment, the truth is you're not in your power, because your power is found in this now moment. It's not in the future. It's not in the past. It's where you are right here, right now, right? This is the gift. So when you're not in your power, it's important to recognize that something outside of you is having power over you. And it's not until you decide to get radically honest with yourself and you start to be non-judgmental, because I don't want you to beat yourself up, right? Or talk down to yourself or belittle yourself about these patterns that aren't healthy or in alignment with what you and who you want to be. But you have to be able to witness these patterns. You have to be able to get radically honest with yourself. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to be in your sovereign embodiment, right? Sovereign embodiment to me is you staying true to yourself, you owning who you are, you being unapologetically you. Sovereign embodiment is about owning your radiance, owning your magnificence, owning your gifts and your talents, and really giving yourself credit for who you are, how far you've become, why you're here, and what makes you so unique, so powerful, and so special. This is a huge piece that is how we really reclaim our power back. This is how we find ourselves in a healthy mindset, right? When we give ourselves credit and the benefit of the doubt and are just really proud and grateful for ourselves and for our journey. And that takes true awareness and true recognition, and there's nothing like it. I've been finding myself in this space more recently, like I said, after struggling with mental health for over 30 years, and I find myself as a new person, and my prayer is that if you're not there yet, that you allow yourself to take the time to find that, because once you get there, what a gift, what a gift, what a gift. The next piece that I really want to share is that if you need help and are genuinely ready to make that shift, find a therapist and doctors that speak your language. By the grace of God, my mentor, Nisha, she referred me to my therapist, Frank. And what I love about Frank is that he does psychedelic integration. So I can unapologetically share with him the experiences and the perspectives and the breakthroughs that I've had, because I'm a psychonaut who is passionate about psychedelic therapy and psychedelic medicine. We speak the same language. He's helped me really see that the experiences that I've been navigating through have been a spiritual emergence, right? It's been an opportunity for me to awaken to my spiritual truth and really recognize that I'm a spiritual being having this human experience. That is a professional who speaks the same language with me, as me, and we're able to keep up in conversation. I'm really grateful, again, that we live in a time where people can talk that and unapologetically share that they're going to therapy or they're seeking mental help, and they want to take initiative to honor their mental health. Like, we're so grateful we finally live in this time. It's because we're also breaking and shattering those taboos and releasing that dogma. And I know that's something I'm extremely passionate about. You know, when I was in college and calling a suicide hotline, it was just still so taboo to talk about mental health back then. But like I said, psychedelics really helped me recognize the deeper truth of my mental health, as well as, you know, embarking on my spiritual journey, and then working with a therapist who speaks the same language as me. These are the things that have helped me make that shift. Now, when I met with my neurologist, it was challenging because we didn't necessarily speak the same language. You know, when I told him I was working with lion's mane mushroom to help me with my memory and my brain focus, he didn't even know what that was. And that to me was just like, oh my God. But in the way, I also shifted my perspective and said, you know what, maybe I'm going through this and I'm navigating through this, and this is who I've been connected with, so that maybe I can plant the seed, because I know where the future of medicine is going. The future of medicine is going through frequency, and it's going through encompassing on a holistic approach the mental, spiritual, physical, emotional well-being. We can't just have these byproducts, or we're not including all of what makes us human to help us heal. And so in a way, I felt like I got to plant that seed about lion's mane mushrooms and how that's been a tool that has helped me get focused And I've been sharing with him videos from that my therapist sent me about spiritual emergence, because again, I believe we go through what we go through for a purpose. Like somehow, some way, whatever we're enduring, whatever we have endured is working out in our favor. And it's up to us to recognize that there's a purpose for everything, and it's up to us to shift that mindset from going from victim to victorious, right? So if you're looking for help and you're needing support, make sure you're working with someone who speaks your language, someone who's open to listening to you and hearing you out, and someone you feel comfortable getting vulnerable with. The next piece I would really want to share is to really become aware of how you're eating, how you're taking care of your body, how you're speaking to yourself, and who or what you surround yourself with, and ask yourself if these habits and people and ways of being are actually supporting your overall well-being. For me, I was overworking myself and I burnt myself out. And this is why I've also been passionate about sharing more with systems, and which is why I created programs like Alchemize Your Systems, and I'm about to launch CEO Calendar, which is going to be all the ClickUp template automations that I've created, so that you can organize your content strategy better. But it's important to have these boundaries, right? With work versus play, and finding a balance with that. It's important to be mindful of what we're eating and consuming, whether it be not just food, but media. If we're constantly scrolling on social media, if we're taking that time to go on walks or take that meditation or journal or take the bath, disconnect from social media and just reconnect with ourselves. It's also important to be mindful of how we're speaking to ourselves. If you're talking shit to yourself, or if you're constantly belittling yourself or doubting yourself, or you're allowing these old stories or projections or gaslighting shit from other people and things outside of you to steer your life and to tell you how you should or shouldn't be, you're not in your power. Of course, like I'm here, I'm doing my best to share with you advice. My take here is to take what resonates and release the rest. But I just think it's important to be mindful and aware of who are the people you surround yourself with too. Are you having a reciprocity in your relationships where there's an equal give and take? I think with this latest eclipse we had, there's a lot that's been purging out where there's old cycles of us that are dying out, which is why it was extremely difficult in the beginning. And going through Scorpio season, whoosh, right? It was just like the ultimate death and rebirth. But we need to recognize that if people fall out of our lives, yes, there can be a grieving process, but there's also a greater purpose to it. And someday you'll recognize that you deserve to be treated with respect, and you deserve to live in a life where there is an equal reciprocity. And this can also be with your business too. If you're constantly creating, but there isn't that reciprocity of what you're getting back from your audience, maybe a time to reevaluate. It may be a time to cultivate better boundaries. It may be a time to get radically honest about what shifts you need to make to be better for your health and well-being. It's also important to speak your truth in relationships on how you deserve to be treated. This is a time for you to really stand up for yourself and to value your worth. And when you're struggling with your mental health, it can be a lot more difficult to honor yourself and your boundaries and your worth, because you're allowing this lower vibrational belief, this outdated, misaligned, expression to run your life. And again, it takes your willingness and your ability to really get honest and take that inventory and do something about it. And while I mentioned this before, I would also dive in deeper about honoring your boundaries and knowing when to say no when you need that time out. For instance, like I didn't have this podcast out the week before because I had a very intense experience at the hospital. And then because I had a seizure at the hospital, the day after I got home was one of the hardest days of my life. And I didn't think I was going to make it, truly. I needed that time away from working and, I wouldn't even say overextending myself, but just extending myself to people outside of me and giving myself permission to fill up my cup. And you have every right to fill up your cup when you need it too. When we honor our boundaries, we value our worth. And when we value our worth, we have a healthy perspective of who we are. And when we value our worth, we can have those boundaries of recognizing what we will and will not tolerate and accept. And I think those are the things that we need to give ourselves more permission to embrace and to drop shame around taking care of yourself. And I think especially with technology, like you can be on a phone and text someone in an instant, and it wasn't like that before. We need to still recognize that while we've become a society of instant gratification, cultivate that space, allow yourself to breathe, have boundaries of what time you're going to be off your technology so that you can wind down. Cultivate the boundaries of when you need to go to take care of yourself, how you want to be treated, what you will and will not tolerate. Again, these are all the things that we need to really recognize as well for our mental health journey. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, disconnect from that technology and reconnect with nature and get back into your body. I think, even going on a walk, so many people go on a walk and they're just instantly listening to a podcast or talking on the phone. They're always connected. But I invite you to also go on a walk in silence. That's what I've been doing. I do my 2-mile walk every day, and I leave my phone at home, and that's the time when I connect with myself and the divine, and I just really hone in. And I think it's great that we can connect with our nervous systems and get back into our body and be present and breathe and just slow down. We need to make sure that we're being mindful and aware of how our nervous system is. If it's overwhelmed and if it's a mess and overfired, the anxiety is inevitable. And I've been there. I mean, being struck by lightning, I've had to really be aware and be extra cautious of my nervous system and my vagus nerve and just my overall time and taking the initiative to wind down, to slow down. And that's been a big thing that I've really been embracing since I was in the hospital and had my last seizure as well, is just going back to EFT tapping, doing Kundalini yoga meditations again, journaling, pulling cards. I'm just doing what I can to also, again, spend that time away from technology. And I think we forgot about that, especially in modern society where, everyone has a phone on them 24/7. But the next piece I really want to talk about that I have really been studying more and implementing more that has really helped me with my mental health and my overall well-being. I talked about this in a couple episodes before, but the importance of really understanding the law of assumption. And the law of assumption, as I shared a couple weeks ago, is far greater than the law of attraction. The law of assumption was taught by Neville Goddard. And the biggest thing to understand is that it's more than just becoming a vibrational match. It's about your beliefs. And so if you're assuming constantly that you're unworthy, if you're assuming constantly that you're sick or that you're broken or that you're not entitled to the life that you want, whatever beliefs that you have that aren't supporting you and aren't expansive, that's what you're assuming your life is going to be. So that's what you're going to experience, right? So for me, if I can constantly focus on that I'm healthy, that I am whole, that I am complete, and that I am enough in this now moment, and I have that be my dominant thought, that's going to be my reality. And I think it's been a big piece as to why I had such the profound healing experience I had at the hospital, even though it took a couple days for my brain to acclimate, because my dominant mindset for so long was still very belittling and self-defeating, and the paranoia and the fear, all of these old things that came up to the surface. That's the way I saw it. It's just like sometimes these challenging moments, all the shit comes up to the surface. So it's like when you're making a soup, so that you can skim it off and release what isn't serving. Like you skim off the fat, right? That can happen a lot with the mental health journey, which is again why it's important to make sure that you have a solid support team and you're working with a therapist or a doctor or whatever you need to get that support. Because you don't have to do this journey alone. But with the law of assumption, again, it all comes down to your beliefs and what your dominant thought is. So if you're constantly working with affirmations, if you're scripting, or if you're looking in a mirror and you're looking yourself directly in the eye and speaking to yourself about the new reality you're creating, and you start believing it and you start becoming that version of you by implementing the habits and the ways of being of that blessed version of you who's actualized the life, the business, or whatever that they desire, that will become your reality. Your mind is a very, 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 very powerful organ. It's a very, very, very powerful tool. And it's up to you on what you allow. It's up to you to focus on what you will and will not tolerate, what you will and will not believe, and those boundaries and the awareness and how you speak to yourself. And so just to wrap this up, like I shared earlier, the biggest thing with this belief piece and how you're viewing your life and the world is to recognize that what has happened, quote unquote, to you is actually happening, quote unquote, for you. Because again, somehow, some way, all of this is working, is unfolding and happening in your favor. And, you know, the like, for instance, if there's been a challenging piece that you've been able to overcome and you've gotten through it, and then you can share your wisdom and your story, you never know who you're going to be able to help and how that can be part of your legacy or the impact that you can make in someone else's lives or in your life, because you have the wisdom and the guidance on how to execute, how to navigate through. And again, I just think the challenging things that we've been able to overcome, it allows us to cultivate a deeper level of empathy for ourselves and compassion for ourselves and others. And this is how we bring in unity consciousness. Is first we have to find that unity within ourselves and cultivate that within ourselves, and then share from that overflow and see that out into the world as our reality. I know for me, when I went in for the eclipse and my brain scans, I was seeing all just this horrible crap on the news about anti-Semitism and, you know, what was going on with the women in Iran and the LGBTQ movement and just all the racism, all these horrific things that have been going on in the world. And because I knew that, you know, a lot of this has been conditioned and programmed in society for so long as part of the matrix, right? And I knew that this eclipse was going to be the opportunity to release what no longer serves. I wanted to release that conditioning once and for all. I'm tired of seeing it in my reality. And that was a huge thing that really initiated my spiritual journey back in 2012 was like, I felt this such powerful love um, from this man and the connection between us. And I knew that that connection and that spark that catalyzed me to embark on my spiritual journey, I knew that in a way that could help me shift a reality of that was always of racism and xenophobia and just all these horrific beliefs of separation and division. I wanted to work through that, but for me to recognize recognizing, I should say, for me, seeing the division in the world was reflecting back to me the division I had within myself. And it was just a mirror. And so it was about coming into wholeness for myself, experiencing unity consciousness within myself, so that I can also see that out into the world as my new reality. That's, to me, what the Aquarian age is about, the fifth dimension, you know, all the spiritual pieces. But I knew that I had work to do on myself to heal myself, and the experience that I had, because I made that choice, that I was done with struggling with mental health challenges, and I was going to make that decision and take that leap of faith out of my comfort zone of mental health challenges, which was the space that I knew the most. That was the path of least resistance, which I talked about in the previous episode. That's what was always natural to me, was just the story that I, you know, had depression and mental health challenges. I was ready to rewrite that, and I saw that was my brain firing new neurons to shift my perspective and my reality. And I worked with the energy of the cosmos, with the eclipse, to make that change, which is why I believe in the power of working and understanding the astrological energies at play, which is why I created my freebie, Astro Medicine, which is a free calendar that you can add either to Google Calendar or your iCal, whatever, that will have like the daily planetary energy. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out in the show notes. Plus also working with understanding the overall, again, medicine of the planets and the signs, and how can I be more strategic to heal my mental health and to, you know, be part of the solution. These are the things that I knew were how I was going to reclaim my power after, like I said, 30 years of a difficult mental health journey where I wanted to throw the towel and quit and end my life multiple times, but I couldn't do that. And to say that where I am now, even as I'm recording this, and even just with all the powerful energies of the eclipse we just had, and 2022 being a 6th year, which in tarot is the lovers, and finding and cultivating that self-love within first so that I can experience that in the world. I just am so grateful for my mental health journey up until now, because it's shaped me into the person I am today, who is here to lead with compassion and empathy and love and patience. And that's the world I want to see. So I just want to share that if you're someone who's been struggling with mental health challenges, please know that you're not alone. And I invite you to get help and find a therapist who speaks your language. Find a support squad that can help you get through it. And it's temporary if you believe it's temporary. And if you believe it's temporary, just know it's up to you to focus on the blessed up version of you you're ready to be, shifting your habits, shifting how you speak to yourself, how you treat yourself, how you take care of yourself, and how you essentially love yourself. So my prayer for you is that you give yourself permission to be kind to your mind and to, again, be able to recognize that someday you'll be able to look back at this and just see how far you've come. And you'll be so proud of yourself for following through and for staying true to yourself, and for you to honor the journey and trust the process. But you can get through this, and just be grateful that you finally live in a time where, again, stigmas around mental health are going away, and taboos around mental health are going away, and dogma around getting help is going away, and people are vulnerably sharing their stories and their journeys so that you're not alone. But with all that being said, I just wanted to say thank you for your love and your support. And if you're someone who has been moved by my work, or my teachings and my wisdom have helped you, you can, if I ask you to just please leave a rating and review on iTunes. Share this episode with someone who needs help. And if you want to support my business, there's tons of offerings that I have available. I decided to share one of the workshops that I have inside Alchemize Your Systems called Planning with Purpose. It's a $99 workshop that will help you understand how to work with the astrology to better plan your business and life. But I'm very excited to see what's to come from all of this and how this continues to unfold. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your understanding. And just know I'm always here rooting for you, and we're going to get through this together. And there's a reason why this episode found its way to you. So just let me know how this resonated, and I'll be seeing and sharing with you more again coming up in the next episode. Have a great one. Take care. Sanam.